Resource Watch is brought to you in association with Tebe Investment Corporation.
Today we are speaking to a brand new platinum miner with strong Chinese financial backing and a rich ore body. And we find out exactly what goes into starting up a new mine. I'm Nozi Pombanjwa. Welcome to Resource Watch. Here's a roundup of news making headlines in the resource sector.
South Africa's government says it has not concluded a deal with Russia for the supply of 8 nuclear reactors. The initial news was met by severe criticism over concerns about transparency, but the Energy Department says its nuclear build procurement process hasn't yet started. It's just signed an intergovernmental agreement with Russia and other potential partner countries. Coal exporter BHP Billiton and rail utility Transnet have signed a long-term agreement valued at 24 billion rands over 10 years. This will see Transnet move around 18 million tons of coal yearly to the privately owned Richards Bay coal terminal in KwaZulu-Natal. The European Investment Bank, IEB, will provide $29.3 million for investment in a solar power station project after signing a 20-year loan agreement with the Burkina Faso government. The solar power will be constructed at Zaqtuli on the outskirts of the capital, Ouagadougou.
Wesizwe Platinum focuses on high-value PGM and strategic metals and has ambitions to grow into a sustainable mid-tier mining house. We're speaking to Wesizwe Platinum's Chief Operating Officer, Paul Smith. Paul, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Now, Wesizwe, not very well known. Maybe just give us a quick historical overview of where Wesizwe comes from and, most importantly, where you're going.
Well, we've had quite a long and slow history because we started off from greenfield exploration, and that certainly takes a long time. But I think Wesizwe has catapulted itself into being a developing mine, and a large mine at that. Recently, with the strategic investment from Xingchuang and the China Africa Development Fund, which is very fortunate for us. So yeah, we certainly have popped up. And in the process of developing a large mine, 420,000 ounces of PGMs produced per annum once we're up and running. So a very exciting future.
We'll certainly get into the relationship that you have with the Chinese and your production targets, but maybe let's have a quick reflection on your recent interim results. What do they tell us about the overall health of Wesizwe Platinum?
Right, I mean, as a developing company and developing a single project, obviously one doesn't focus on earnings, but rather on capital spent, because it's about spending the right capital efficiently and quickly. So the results really just indicate the expenditure rate, which is going very well, and the building of the balance sheet. So not too exciting. Yeah. But what it also reflects is the funding available and the applying of that fund to the project.
One of the key concerns that came up following those results, of course, and on the back of a platinum strike that really almost crippled the economy, were big questions about the decision to build new mines as against pick up assets that are already available. Maybe talk us through the rationale behind that again. Yeah,
it doesn't sound right, and a lot of people ask that question. But mining is very cyclical. And it always will be. That's the first point. And the second point is successful mines are always based on good ore bodies. In other words, what's in the ground. So if one looks at more mature operations that may be for sale, one has to take a very careful look at the ore body itself. Now what we have is a virgin ore body, which is of the best values that you will find in the Bushveld complex, and that's the driving force for building a new mine, as opposed to, for example, taking that capital and looking at buying other mines that may be for sale, because the resources do deplete. Yeah.
Does this also automatically mean that you have no appetite for some of the platinum assets that the likes of, for example, of Neil Froneman have been quoted as saying that they've got their eyes on?
No, look, I mean, we certainly do look at those assets and are looking at those assets. But it like everything, it's all about price and value. And what is strategically good for the development and sustainability of a successful mining company. So absolutely, we'll look. But no, I don't think we'll be rushing in at anything just yet.
You've had first-hand experience in terms of bringing in the community as you start off a new mine. What are the key takeaways that you might be able to share with us from that?
Well, with the Bakabung, and you know, we're very fortunate, I think, to be working with the Bakabung. And the relationship has grown from strength to strength. It did have a wobbly start, but I think both sides have worked very hard to develop a sound relationship. And I think that sound base is now beginning to deliver fruit in terms of the employment, in terms of housing, infrastructure. There really is a lot of exciting things happening right now, which we're very proud of.
Would you then say that all issues relating to some of those initial hurdles with the community and the leadership have since been resolved?
Not entirely, and there is certainly a bit of a hangover in terms of those issues, because like in any community, you get different positions by different groups of a community. So one, you know, I think they're largely resolved. And we are basically cleaning up and agreeing the way forward. So overall, very positive, and I think a very bright future going forward.
Your exact geographical positioning is also one that raises a couple of questions, being right next door to the Pilanesberg. How have you had to deal with some of the environmental concerns that come with being in that position?
Yes, I think when we made application for the mining rights a number of years ago, there was a very detailed environmental process that one had to go through. We went through that. We ticked all those boxes. We had tremendous communication with all the stakeholders around us. We resolved, I think, most, if not all, of the issues. So yes, we are very close to the Pilanesberg and Sun City itself. But you know, to date, we're very fortunate that we agreed on the way forward. And also, we must also understand that mining is a very much part of the community, as is Sun City being part of the community. So it is a diversification for the localized community, and that's critical for sustainability.
Let's talk about the Chinese involvement. Many, of course, have raised eyebrows again at your close relationship to the Chinese, and especially your reliance on the funding from that aspect. How are you navigating, one, the external perceptions, but also a new relationship, given that the Chinese traditionally haven't been known to dabble in the platinum space in South Africa or in Africa broadly?
Yeah, that's right. I think the initiative led by Jing Shuang, ultimately, and China Africa Development Fund is part of a broader strategy within the emerging markets, Southern Africa, South America. So that's point one. Point two, I think the investments made are focused on the long term, you know, in terms of sourcing key metals. And yes, it is really the first delve into platinum, but we must also remember that Jingshuang itself, as a primary nickel producer in China, does produce PGMs as a byproduct, so is very familiar with the metals. But the importance of platinum and palladium are very important in terms of strategic metals going forward. And so yes, being such a powerful economy, you know, China would want to be in platinum and has made that decision.
Beyond Bakabung, what are your future expansion plans, and where are we likely to see Wesizwe playing?
Well, it's going to be a long story. And so, you know, there's not much I can say on that point just yet. But as I said, we continue to look at everything, both within the borders of South Africa and external as well, because obviously Zimbabwe is becoming a very important player in the platinum business.
And overall, it's the state of the attractiveness of South Africa as an investment destination, given the policy uncertainty that we're said to have right now. Where do you position us?
Yeah, look, I think we've all learnt a lot over the last couple of years in terms of the mine owners, government, labour, of the sensitivity and of our industry. And it's not as robust as we think. It is very sensitive to input pressures like costs and capital and work efficiencies. So I think we've all kind of learnt from the last year or so that we've got to pull together, and we are, to really sustain this business, because it's critical to this country in terms of revenue growth.
And very quickly, before I let you go, Paul, when can we expect the first production to come from underground?
Well, latter part of 2017, we see the first ore out of the shafts, and then the first production out of, in terms of metals in concentrate, is the latter part of 2019. But there's a very large build-up time, because given the size of the operation.
Paul, thank you so much for making the time to join us. That was Wesizwe Platinum's Chief Operating Officer, Paul Smith. Now, glass blowing is a glass forming technique that involves inflating molten glass into a bubble with the aid of a blowpipe. From this, all laboratory requirements are catered for, ranging from small test tubes, beakers, as well as flasks. We visited Glassblowing Industries, a company with over 60 years in the industry.
Glass is made by melting together several minerals at very high temperatures. Silica, in the form of sand, is the main ingredient. Combined with soda ash and limestone, this is melted in a furnace at a temperature of 1,700 degrees Celsius. Glassblowing Industries was founded in 1952 by Tony Haltman and Carl Herb. 62 years later, the business is synonymous with high quality and superb craftsmanship of pharmaceutical containers such as test tubes, beakers and flasks. Glassblowing Industries has worked closely with scientists and technicians in research and development laboratories throughout the country for companies like Impala Platinum, Anglo American and Sasol.
We supply them quite a lot, I would say, yeah. And honestly, I think we also play a big role in that, because it's also part of like job creation, and with our products not there, they are unable to carry on. For instance, Impala Platinum, we make Pyrex ampules for them. There's 2 lots or 2 types that we supply them, which they run tests in the mines, and they have to use the special kind of glass that we use, which is Pyrex.
Providing essential tools for the technical expertise needed in the resources sector.
And that's it for this week's Resource Watch. Do stay in touch, following me at Nozi Pumbandra or at CNBC Africa. And don't forget our hashtag, that's Resource Watch. From myself and the team, it's goodbye.